Good evening. How are you? Happy New Year. This is to your boy Adigoke. I'm wishing you a beautiful, beautiful Happy New Year. This recording is as a result of a conversation that's started, I think, well, maybe the last day or the last few days of 2021. And it was about investment, about vehicles of transferring wealth from one generation to another. And we started talking about things like term insurance, life insurance, and things like that. And I wanted to express my thought then, but I didn't have the time. And I did say that I was going to try to get back to you as soon as I can. And so this recording is basically to try to see how best I could explain what I was trying to say and hopefully be able to give somebody clarity of what I was intending. So first of all, I want to start off by saying that I'm not a financial advisor. So if you should look for a license, I'm not a licensed financial advisor. I'm not trying to offer you professional services. So all of what I'm saying is what I've done and researched over the years. I did something like this even in Nigeria. It was supposed to be for a 10-year period at that time, about a little over 10 years ago. Something similar to what I'm going to describe, because I always believe that it's important to think transgenerational. That means that we can't be too preoccupied with just the now, that we fail to realize that there is a generation after. And that's one of the things that you would realize that has happened successfully in the developed world, where they've been able to transfer wealth from one generation to another. So that even though many of those individuals might not be as intelligent or sophisticated like we Nigerians can be, but they've been able to not start from the scratch, but be able to build from where their loved ones, either their father, their grandfather, or their progenitors were able to stop at. So I wanted to quickly explain some of the things. So first of all, I want to talk about what people call the term insurance. So term insurance, they will generally just say term insurance and buy term, invest the difference. And the concept they always indicated. I know that respect to, I know there are a couple of individuals within the Nigerian community and also in the group that market and sell term insurance. I'm not after your jobs. I don't intend to. It's not my desire. But one of the things that they say is buy term and invest the difference. So what that means is, hypothetically, let's say life insurance is $100, and they'll tell you that part time or uh, term is cheaper. So maybe it will cost, let's say, $10, right? So they tell you use $10, pay for a term insurance. Sometimes the term insurance are 10 years, 15 years. I think there's some that might go even as high as 20 years. And but they become more pricey as the years go by. And obviously, you realize that most of us didn't come to Canada at very young ages. Yeah, I recognize we're all in different age brackets and all. So they tell you to buy term and invest different. So they'll say pay $10, then that $90 take it, invest it in high yielding stock, and they'll tell you about stocks that you can make 10 digits, 11 digits, and 12 digit figures on, and based on that you make way more money in 20 years or 30 years or something down the road that you can live on, retire on, and all of that stuff. I don't have a problem with that. But I wanted something more robust. I've always sought for something more robust, and I will explain what I mean. Like I said, I'd done something a bit like this about 10 plus years ago in Nigeria, so I had an idea of what I was looking for. I wanted something that would transfer well, because if you see, the vehicles of wealth transfers are very limited. We don't have too many vehicles for wealth transfers from one generation to another. One of such is true real estate. I wrote a book about owning your first home in Canada, because I felt like it's important to document our the processes, so that even if somebody else doesn't meet me or meet anyone who has, if it picks up a book that's documented the process or the steps you'll be able to run with. And if you want that book, it's out there. I think it's on our site, totalucreatives.com. You can download his free ebook. It was published and released sometime in March of last year. So my intention was something that was robust. So I was looking for something that could solve many problems. One, transfer wealth from one generation to other. Something that could serve as a means to an end, not an end to a means. So that means that by itself, it doesn't exist in isolation. It exists as a tool to be used to be able to accomplish other tools. So I wanted something that I could use over and over again. So one of the vehicles I saw was True Life Insurance, but the concept I'm talking about more is infinite banking, what some people call being your own bank and all of that stuff. So this is how my strategy works, and the truth of the matter is my strategy doesn't have to be your strategy. I just felt like because of the conversation and should he offered an opportunity for me to bring out the fact that people should have couples should come together and have financial strategy together on how they're going to successfully transfer wealth from their generation to their children's, and I dare say your children's children, because I think it's important to do what's called the Jewish phenomenon, but that's for as a conversation for another day. So what we generally do is you make what you call the premiums, right? And the premium is obviously the different criteria they usually ask or whatever the premium might be. And when you get this premium, or when you're given this premium, your life is insured based on a certain amount of money. So hypothetically, let's say your premium is $1,000 and your life is insured, let's say 600,000, right? So what you now do is you now have what they also call an overpayment, an agreement on what's the maximum amount of money you can contribute to as an overpayment in the lifetime of your life. So which is outside of what your premiums are. So your premium covers you or guarantees you to that if something happens to you, that there's a certain money that your family will, or well your beneficiary will be entitled to. But what the overpayment does is it offers what I call the concept of the infinite banking, or what some people might call be your own bank. Previously I said that one of the things that always happen with savings and buying things is that you always have to start afresh. But this offers you an opportunity to not interrupt the growth process. So it's not as if you are starting afresh. So for example, I maybe I make an agreement that I can do 200,000, or I'm approved for an overpayment of 200,000 over the lifetime of my age, right, of the agreement. So based on that means that I cannot make more payments beyond that, but I can make less than that. So I decide maybe every year I want to be contributing $10,000 into as an overpayment into that. Yeah, some people will say, well, that $10,000, if you put it in stocks, it will be able to yield you so much money. The thing about the money in stock for me, primarily just put in stock, is that it has no other use for me outside the fact that it's in stock, unless I sell the share before I can kind of like enjoy the benefit of it. So like I said, the motive for me was always something that was robust, something that could do more than one thing. And so you make overpayments. So now every overpayment you make, every amount you make or you put, you have 90%, you have access to 90% of the cash value. So for example, if let's say after a year or after 2 years or after a number of years, I've committed like 30,000 or 40,000, whatever the amount is, I can borrow to 90% of that money. It will not affect the growth process or the interest that I'm generating on the fund, because I borrowed out 90% of the money to be able to do a project, or to be able to use it as I see fit based on all my other, like I said, this is not a standalone. It's not an end to a means. It's a means to an end. So that means I'm using this as a vehicle to be able to achieve all the goals. And there are many flexibility and many things you can decide to achieve with the other goals. So, but I'll begin to list out some of them. So, one of them is the fact that even though the money is not in term, that if you do not die in those process of the term life, and when that expires, all the premium you've ever paid is gone. So I didn't want a situation like that, that it just single focused and all of that, because obviously as Africans we never imagine ourselves dying, even though we know death is inevitable. And but the truth is, I wanted something that when I have an overpayment, I can always borrow from the money. I can borrow it to do projects. I can borrow it to fund my TSA. I can borrow it to make a down payment for an house I'm thinking of buying, or whatever the case scenario is. And it doesn't show up on my credit record because I'm my own bank. I'm borrowing it from me, And so as a result of that, you are able to borrow and pay back and be able to do things that there's no interruption. So even with this so-called overpayment, one of the things you still get is you get what they call interest. The interest is never as high as the 10%, 11%, or 12% that they will say you get in the stock market. I think it's normally about 4.5 or maybe 5% sometimes. That I haven't seen more than 5% yet. So it's not like it's high percentage, but you also have access to your cash. You have what they call internal rate of return, which is important. So people who are afraid that, oh, I'm borrowing money, I'm going to, what if something happens, I now lose my debt and my children, no. So you can only borrow 90% of that which you have contributed. So when you buy the life insurance, there's an amount that your whole life is assured based on. So if your whole life is assured for 600,000, and you've contributed, let's say 100,000 into and you borrowed 90% of it, which is 90K to do a whatever, and God forbid the person dies, and because you died, they will still pay you, but they'll pay you less, 600,000 less the money that you have borrowed that you haven't paid back, which is important. And so for me, I'm able to use it as a robust system. So I can borrow money against to be able to pay off, to contribute to my tax return. And the beautiful part about it is that it also pays dividends. It also, not only do I get dividends, you get internal rate of return. Obviously, the rate of return is small based on the amount you've contributed, but as your money begins to grow in terms of what you contribute and all of that, so your rate of return grows as the years go by. And most importantly, you still have your the cover for your life, that so that even if anything happens to my life, I'm able to. And I've read many books, how people I read books of the Vanderbilt and the Rockefellers, the difference between them, and how the one was successfully able to transfer wealth over and over again. And to today, we still have some billionaires that are amongst the Rockefeller Foundation. And I think that what matters most is for you to have a strategy that works for you. This is what works for my wife and I. We like it because it allows us to not just invest money in a stock and it's gone. I still get to invest in stock, so I can borrow 10,000 from the money. If I have that cash capital to be able to buy shares if I want, and then I'm paying back the money because I'm a bank, and I'm going to be paying back the money at an interest. And even though I'm paying back an interest, because note that the whole concept is becoming your own bank. So it's not like it's not like taking 20,000 and dropping on the car and then the 20,000 is gone forever. So the system, the investment still continues as acting as if the money that I borrowed out is still there, and I'm still able to yield increase and dividends based on that set amount of money. And I like that. I like something that is robust, and so that's it for me. That's it. But the most important thing is please sit down with your wife, sit down with your husband, and come up with something that works for both of you. And think transgenerational, and that's it. And then talk to your specialists, talk to your financial advisors, talk to your lawyers, your accountants, and the rest, and figure out what works for you. But it's important to think at least a generation, but at good 2 generations. Thank you. It's still your boy Adigoke, and I hope this helped you in some way. Bye bye.